Hi, everybody. Such a big week. It was great talking with you all on Google Hangout and on Blackboard Collaborate. Some of you I talked on the phone with, some great stuff in the discussion board. So thank you. Hopefully what you're experiencing now is kind of breaking the ice a little bit with the literature review. Get some feedback, and I wanted to go over some common things I saw with APA from last week. Rather than note in everybody's paper and then their peer review, I took some screenshots from different papers, and I'm going to highlight a few things. Lots of things with APA this week, and we'll talk more about this in a moment. Your job is really going to be to synthesize the context and the prose. Last week was a lot about APA, and we knew that was going to happen. So a few things that I want to draw out that were trends that I saw across all papers. And again, talking about it here because I think it's much easier than leaving comments in each individual paper. So let's look at this. One of the things that we saw was the use of the ampersand within the text. So you see here, according to Johnson, Polliner, and this was edited out. Now we see this a lot. Good job, whoever edited this. We're going to use the ampersand when it's parenthetical, not within the text. This is a very powerful thing to do. Ampersand, fully parenthetical. Another thing we saw a lot was questions regarding the use of headings. Okay, and Sandra made a nice comment here, and I provided a link. There are specific ways to use headings within APA, and I think they really demystify things. Please take a look at the site that I sent you in the last email, and it walks through that very, very well. It gets a little tricky when you get down here into the period, and I want to show you an example of a paper that did a really good job with this. As you see, get rid of that right here. See, types of learning, period, and then it begin in bold, and then it begins the paragraph right away from there. We see that again here. This one's indented, though. Okay, so if you see here, indented. So this is the correct way of doing it. I put in the last email I sent you an entire sample paper that's provided by the Purdue OWL site. This is an incredibly amazing resource for APA. Don't go ahead and reinvent the wheel with respect to APA. What I need you to do with respect to APA is look at papers that have been done before. This one is provided as an example of a sample APA paper. Use it. Here we see the non-ampersand. Okay, as we go through, we're going to see headings. There's a level 1 heading. There's a level 2 heading. There's that level 3 heading that we're talking about there, indented boldface with a period. Demystify it by looking at old papers that have been approved. And a last thing that I noticed, let's see if I have it here, which is simply a comment about the use of page numbers. It's really common to want to over-paginate things, that is, indicate the page number within the parenthetical reference. Remember, you're only going to do that when you have a direct quotation. Even if you call out some vocabulary, like this author uses the word blah as a way of noting this, you don't need to indicate the page number. You're just going to do that when you have a direct quotation taken from a source. Again, I can't even tell you how incredible this resource is right here. I mean, literally, you're going through each page, and we see the use of at all here. We're talking about references. I mean, this is just an incredibly useful small paper that gives an example of current APA provided by probably the best online site that exists, the Purdue OWL site. So common mistakes across the board, not a big deal. Let's look forward to week 5. You're going to be doing your reading in chapters 4 and 5 in the Hendricks text. And I want to draw your attention in chapter 4 to the Gantt chart that you will see here. I really encourage you as a group to put together some sort of flow chart for the completion of your project from 580 through the next class that you're going to be in. Gantt charts are really great, but any sort of structural flow chart like this can really add some safety to your group so you know you're getting it done. I love the quote from Jon Stewart, which he says when reflecting on his time on The Daily Show, it's through intense structure that I find the safety to be creative. So put together a structure for you when you're planning your research. When you're going through chapter 5, it's going to talk a lot about this idea of triangulation, okay? Getting the information from multiple sources, from multiple places, but really demystifying where you are getting that information and breaking it down into artifacts, observational data, and inquiry data. So this is a really nice table that I want to draw your attention to, because when you think about gathering your data, you can demystify it by saying, what artifacts am I going to look at? What observational data am I going to obtain? And what sort of questions and inquiry data am I going to put together here? Examples of artifacts include artwork, projects. Observational data include photographs that you might take, checklists that you might gather in observing the class. These are more active here. And inquiry data, interviews specifically, are really, really great, as well as surveys. And that gets to the second reading, which is going to be talking about interview protocols. When we look at the assignments for this week, definitely a lot going on this week. So this is a week where I strongly urge you again to meet with your team online or via email and really divide up the work well. The first thing that I want to draw your attention to is the discussion board. So this is where you're going to be looking at developing some sort of survey or interview protocol. I think this assignment here might take a back seat to, and by the way, when you're doing this, really, really read these instructions in this video very, very carefully. It's going to help you with that. Now, the next two assignments here seem really daunting, but I want to demystify them for you. So the first one, which is really exciting, is bringing your literature review together. And this can be really exciting because you're going to combine them, and suddenly your paper is going to go from 8 pages to 24 pages without really realizing it. So you're going to bring them together, and this is a chance for you all to get, I recommend, in one Google document and start mixing the paragraphs together, creating transitions, working on the writing and the flow. This is going to be less APA and more spackling together your various ways of writing, but it's going to also be a really powerful opportunity for you to understand and think about the way that you write and the way that your colleagues write and try to bring that together. Just a great meta activity. And then chapter 4 seems daunting, but I want you to remember that now that you've reviewed the literature, you can state this problem in a very general way, and we've already talked about your research questions and your purpose. So you can put those together. Those have kind of already been done. So you're going to be filling in the gaps from that previous assignment. And hopefully this is going to make it clear why we had you do that in the first place. Now you're going to revisit it, and it's going to seem much more meaty. There's definitions of terms here. Look at the past studies that have been done in your chapter 1 with respect to length. Okay, it's kind of a mini literature review because you're framing the problem in terms of language, those research questions. What are the effects of blank in a blank as measured by blank? And how to paginate and list out those definitions of terms in correct APA format. So again, this is a big week. You're going to have a lot of your paper done after this week. Reach out, schedule an appointment with me. This is a long video, a lot of information. I'm here for you, and I'm really, really excited. Take care.